Hello, welcome and good evening to another game review, and this time we have another click and point adventure by LucasArts from the same time period as Monkey Island 2, which we already had a look at. And this is obviously Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. It's the German version in this case that I have as a box copy, but we will of course have a look at the English version later on. This one is the version for the IBM PC. It will run just fine on the 286. It says here right in the box IBM AT 3.5-inch floppy disks, and it was also telling us VGA 256 colors, which was not in every game by that time. So a lot of games were still coming out with EGA 16 color graphics. So this was definitely a selling point, and we can already see. Yeah, this is action-packed. Indiana Jones is here. We see molten lava and some chase on camelbacks, and of course Nazis. Who doesn't like Indiana Jones with Nazis? Yeah, and that woman here, we don't know her yet, but she is pretty central to the game, as we will see later. Let's turn the box around. All the goodies, some nice screenshots here, a mysterious amulet or whatever you call it in English, I don't know. Yeah, very nice. It's 1939 and some agents are looking for the lost city of Atlantis, and it just says agents here. Well, it's Nazi agents, but well, in Germany we have a bit of a problem with Nazis, so it's probably got a little bit censored there. Yeah, and Indy has to stop the Nazis of getting their hands on the mystic powers of Atlantis. And yeah, it's pretty nice. Let's take a look inside. So the guy I got this from was very nice to include the original discs. They are 5 3.25-quarter-inch discs, and he made some backup copies as well. So we won't be needing those because you can get disc images almost everywhere. I obviously won't link to that because it's still copyrighted, and yeah, it's not very hard to get a legal copy of this. I think on Steam or Good Old Games you could probably get the version as a digital download if you don't care about the box. And even the boxed copies are not that expensive, being the case that this game was sold pretty well, so there are a lot of copies still going around. And this one here is in pretty good shape. So we have the manual in German, obviously, which is also the copy protection here at the top and the bottom. And it explains how to play LucasArts style click and point adventure games. But you probably already know that with the verbs and the graphical inventory and the interactive part up here. And it works mostly like Monkey Island. There are some differences. You get a score, an actual score, which you don't have in the other games. And depending on how you solve your puzzles and what you're doing, whoops, hit the camera there. Yeah, you get a different number of points. And there are 3 ways to play the game. You can choose not directly, but due to your actions. If you want to play the puzzle-laden game, the puzzle path, or if you want to play together with Sophia, the woman here, it's the team path, so you can switch between those people and will solve puzzles differently. Or if you take the action path where you encounter more Nazis and have to do more fist fights, which you can usually completely forgo in the other paths. This box copy also came with some small hint manual. So there's, in German, a lot of hints about solving different puzzles in the game. I won't show you too much of this. I don't want to spoil the game. And there's even more. There's this very nice poster. Let's have a look. I'll even show you the whole thing. It's like a movie poster, basically, even with the credits down here. So, yeah, I wish they made this story basically the 4th movie instead of the Crystal Skull, which in my opinion, sucked majorly. So even though Fate of Atlantis has its drawbacks, I think the story is pretty neat, and I'm sad that they never used it. There's also a quick reference card. It explains what command line options you can use. So Adlib, Sound Blaster, and Roland are supported. So we will try it with our own built Adlib card and also with the Roland SC55, obviously. And you have MCGA and VGA graphics, and not documented, but you can also use EGA graphics, which will dither the VGA graphics so that you can still run it on the EGA screen. Mouse, joystick, keyboard, whatever you like. And that's that. How much memory you need, etc., etc. Yeah. So that is what's in the box. And I'd say, let's try out this game. Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis hails from the same era as Monkey Island 2, the early 90s. It is the second point-and-click adventure starring the unconventional archaeology professor. The three movies that were produced up to this point spawned already a bunch of action-oriented video games. However, this incarnation is not as action-packed, but it is also not a pure adventure game where solving puzzles is the only way to succeed. Fate of Atlantis offers three different paths to finish the game: the puzzle path, the team path, and the fist path. The latter is the most action-oriented with car chases and fist fights, but still a good bunch of puzzles. And the team path lets you switch between Sophia and Indiana Jones in certain points, but we come to that later as well. The technology is similar to Monkey Island 2. On the PC you get 256 color graphics with Adlib, Sound Blaster, and Roland support. The Sound Blaster support adds a few digitized sound effects, and in the CD-ROM version also voice support. Let us actually compare the two main options, Adlib and Roland. I actually enjoy the Adlib version more, and I think the developers at LucasArts spent a lot of time on this version. Have a listen. First the Adlib version of the intro, then Roland. Again, the game uses the iMuse sound system, which makes it possible to have a continuous and smooth soundtrack throughout the game. Similarly to Monkey Island 2, there are no abrupt changes in the background music, but rather seamless transitions from one scene to the other. This is truly one strength of the LucasArts games of that era, which was not available in other games. The game itself comes on 5 floppy disks and requires a 286 and a hard disk to install. Everything else is optional. It can even run on EGA graphics cards by dithering the VGA graphics, but it is not optimized for that and it is best played on a VGA screen. The 3 game paths vary significantly. The puzzle path lets you play the game mostly on your own, minimizing action scenes. In the team path, you are accompanied by Sophia Hepgood, an old acquaintance of Indy, and it is not quite clear if they are fighting like an old married couple or if there's actually a bit of a romance going on. Sophia is working as a supernatural medium, something that is contrary to the science-minded Indy. Well, since his adventures are usually also a bit supernatural, I guess he shouldn't complain. The fist path is packed with fist fights against Nazis, car chases, balloon races and the like. It is the only option where you can't wiggle or cheat your way out of a fight, but then again, this would defeat the purpose. Indy and Sophia travel around the world as is expected from the movies. You start out at Barnet College, but your trips quickly take you to Iceland, Tikal and the Azores. Later you explore the Mediterranean, Monte Carlo and Algiers as well as Crete, before finally arriving at Atlantis. As is typical for LucasArts adventures, you can't make mistakes that let you end up in a dead end, where you have to start over the game. But there is a bunch of possibilities to die. Those are usually easy to spot and to avoid. But still, you should save the game regularly. The puzzles are all in all quite sound and logical. The game requires some creative thinking once in a while, but there are less obscure or pun-based puzzles than, for example, in Monkey Island. The graphics are nicely done, but look more sterile or maybe clean than the hand-drawn background artwork of Monkey Island 2. Some artwork looks even a bit drab and repetitive, mainly the screens in the labyrinth on Crete and the first part of the Atlantis screens. There are also some tedious labyrinth sections that seem to only drag out the game, but not add much value or atmosphere. Nevertheless, the game is extremely well done and has great replay value thanks to the 3 different game paths. And to be honest, it is so much better than the actual 4th indie movie. So I give it 9 out of 10 points, and still I can highly recommend playing it after all those years. So this wraps it up, and I thank you for watching, and if you like this, please share, like and subscribe, and as always, I wish you a very good night and a good evening.